Hey everybody, welcome to the Big Huntsville Podcast, the show that's all about the people, places, and the stories that make this city an amazing place. I'm your host, Carl Thomas, your favorite realtor, singer-songwriter, and all-around Huntsville cheerleader. Each week, we'll be shining a light on the community heroes who make this city tick, having some fun along the way, and sharing a few real estate tips when you least expect it. So whether you've lived in Huntsville your whole life or you're just thinking about calling Huntsville your new home, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Thank you so much for being with us here again on the Big Huntsville Podcast. We are actually, it's amazing the fish that we are reeling in lately. We are touching Huntsville. We're reaching people in Huntsville that are doing exciting and things for the city. But this is one of those rare occasions where we're reaching somebody who is impacting Huntsville, but also impacting the other side of the world. And we're going to talk with this gentleman. His name is Dr. Kevin Dieckilman. And I know that's quite a name, but you need to know that name because he is doing huge things all over our planet. And we're going to be talking about that today. Kevin, or Dr. Kevin, thank you for being with us today, man. I really appreciate it.
My honor. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Good to be here.
Right. Yeah, you look very studious in front of all your books. So that already makes me nervous. I've got a bookshelf that I think has several coloring books on it and whatnot. So I may just transfer those over to your bookshelf since you have so much space. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about what you do, what maybe your pedigree, your background. Give us an idea of exactly who you are to the city of Huntsville, but also to the world. Tell us what you do.
So I was a pastor in Southern California, which is not really a good thing to say at this point in time. But I was for many years there and was very involved in the Jewish community. Met a man by the name of General Shimon Aram, who was one of the founding fathers of the modern state of Israel with Ben Gurion and many other men. And he mentored me for 25 years and walked me through Israel, the history of Israel, the people of Israel, the land of Israel, and what it was. He was a devout Jew and loved God tremendously. So he had a great indelible impact on my life toward the Jewish community. And we built an organization called One Heart for Israel to build bridges between the Jewish and Christian communities around the world.
Wow.
And so it was a very exciting project that we did. And I've been very blessed to serve on some committees of some Jewish organizations in Los Angeles. And so I still do that on occasion, but I retired from the pulpit and went to work on the full-time on the nonprofit organizations. And so we moved to Huntsville because we have a daughter and 3 granddaughters here. And my wife said, we're moving to Huntsville. I said, okay.
Now you just have a daughter here. You have a famous daughter here.
I have a daughter who, is extremely well known in the photography community.
Yeah, so Heather Ekstrom. And so Heather is actually my photographer, one of my photographers. And if you get a headshot in Huntsville and it's not done by her, you're crazy. So she's the best. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. And so I have 2 other grandkids from California that moved out to be with us. So now I have all 5 of my grandkids here.
Wow.
We're thrilled to be here. Did not have any idea when we moved to Huntsville, Alabama, because there's a stigma of Alabama around a lot of places in the world, especially in the erudite community of California. And so we came here. I was thrilled at the city of who they are, what they are, where they're going, and how incredible this city is to be networking to the nations the way it does.
Sure.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. So as far as what you've planted here in Huntsville, which we're going to get to the big thing that you're doing here that everybody in Huntsville needs to go see. But so as far as planting your roots here and continuing on in your nonprofit work and things like that, I've also heard of you as a couple different titles, an archaeologist. You are a tour guide in Israel. So that's as in you leave here, you fly on a plane for what seems like 6 days, and you go to Israel and you guide people around. So how did all that come about?
It came about by my introduction into Israel and the land of Israel. We were actually, my very first tour of Israel many years ago, the professor and the guides that took us on the tour said, know the land, know the land. And I came to understand the importance of the land of Israel to the story of the Bible. And came to understand that this land that is 280 miles long right now and 60 miles wide is God's perfect classroom that he built to teach his story of salvation through the Bible to all nations for all time. And so walking in these places and learning these stories, and we do more than just tours. We receive awards for having one of the best tours of Israel by the Ministry of Tourism. And so what we do is we take you behind the text and show you the meaning of things. We show you the layers of the places in the land. So it's not just a tour guide saying this happened here and this happened here, but we say this happened here and this is why it happened here. And by the way, what happened here afterwards is because this happened here also. And so we show the layers of the land and the layers of God's story of how he's planned teaching us his word through the land. And then we teach the culture of Israel. And then we also teach the people. People are confused, Christians especially today are confused because so many people are talking about whether you support Israel or not. If you ask an average person, why do you support Israel? Most of them can't give you a real defined answer.
Sure.
Okay. Do I grab a flag and wave a flag? Do I support Bibi Netanyahu? Do I support Benny Gantz? What do I do? Okay. And so we try to clarify this, that God's called us to stand with Israel because when the Messiah comes, there are three things and only three promised things by God when the Messiah returns that will be here. It is his word, it is Israel, and it's his church. And until he comes, I'm going to support and love all three. That doesn't make me necessarily a flag waver for Israel, but I understand the land, the culture, and the roots of my faith by which God spoke to the land of Israel and has given them our roots, okay, of our faith to understand and to live by.
Sure. Okay, let's go a little bit more into that faith. So you are a Christian or you are Jewish? What are you?
I'm a Christian pastor. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I guess just sliding from the touring, because I know seeing these things in person has got to be amazing. I've never been able to go, but you do actually take people from Huntsville to Israel and you guide them. As a fellow Huntsvillian, you will take us into Israel and guide us through Jerusalem, all these different places that are biblical. That's something that you do that people can actually sign up to go with you.
I've taken over 65 different tours to Israel.
Okay.
In fact,
wow.
I was supposed to have just returned from Israel just last Sunday, but our flights were canceled because a lot of airlines have canceled their flights in Israel, afraid of what's going on there. And trust me, I went anyhow,
Sure.
and it was
Wow.
completely and totally safe.
Wow.
Not one issue at all, ever. And it's safe. People are always concerned, is it safe? I'd rather go to Israel than LA at this point in time, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
that makes sense. Okay, so getting back to the faith of what you believe, why you believe it, because there's some deep questions I have that we've talked about before this meeting. Is number one, in your faith, because you have also not only guided people there, but you've also done archaeology. You've dug, you've found artifacts, which we'll talk about that a little bit. I guess we need to get into that first. In that digging, you are finding things there in that country that tie validity to the word. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. We have never found the entire nation of Israel is an archaeological dig site. Okay. There's a parking lot that you would park on and go into City of David in years past, and they were going to recap the parking lot. When they took the cap off, they realized it was actually part of the old City of David. So now it's an entire excavation.
Wow.
So you find artifacts everywhere. There's never been an artifact discovered in Israel that has questioned the Bible whatsoever.
Sure.
Understand some things. The archaeology does not prove the Bible, but it adds scientific and technical and historical support of the Bible in every way. And at no point in time has it ever contradicted any of the biblical stories.
Which is amazing, because you would think that if these things did not take place, you would find things in the ground that would tell you that. You would think
exactly.
you would find things that would prove that this is just a book, the Bible I'm talking about here. So in your faith, finding these things, I'm guessing, gives you more faith. I would think that would be the way to word it, because here's the thing. When you got average Joe like me, who's on a hamster wheel and never slows down in life, we rarely naturally just think of God. We rarely naturally think of eternity. We rarely think of death. We do our best not to think of things like that because we're just busy living life. But I would think if I was in a place like that and I was digging up things that I felt like, or didn't feel like, but in fact proved that certain people existed, like in that parking lot, I'm guessing you're finding things that point back to David. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And Solomon. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. So even
okay.
farther. So you've got these things that are a couple thousand years old at least. that you're digging out of the ground that state that this person really did exist, I'm going to guess that would take your faith even to another level. I guess I'm just saying all this to say that it's easy when you're on the hamster wheel to miss that this stuff is real. We like to put it in the fantasy category. That's the
Right.
easiest thing to do, is just put it in the fantasy category, move on with our lives, maybe worry about death when we're on our deathbed. But
Yeah.
so why have you chosen to believe so strongly? I know I'm answering that question for you, but I guess give me a little bit of apologetics. Tell me about your faith.
Okay. Yeah, so let me take archaeology and put it in action for a moment. I have a museum here in town, a collection of my artifacts and things I've accumulated and things I've acquired and things I've dug up. One of the things that I have is I have a biblical replica, an exact museum replica of a left heel bone of a crucified man with the nails still in it. It was found just outside of the city of the old city of Jerusalem, and this heel bone shows us how a man was crucified. He was crucified not by putting the feet on top of each other in front of the cross, but putting the feet on the sides of the cross and driving the nails through the heel bones in the side. Now,
Okay.
why is this important? Because Genesis tells us when God curses Satan, okay, that Jesus, that the Messiah will crush his head and he will bruise his heel.
Okay.
Okay.
That's wild.
So we begin to take the artifacts and explain what they mean and why they have fit scripture so important. All of a sudden, we get to a place where the scripture, the Bible itself, begins to jump off the pages for the discoveries. We have a church today that, for the most part, and I'm going to jump off the cliff here, the pastors in pulpits are illiterate for teaching the Bible with the fullness of what the Bible should be taught by.
Wow.
I'm speaking with Christians constantly all over the country that are saying, I wish my pastor would just preach the Bible. You remember the story of Noah. You remember the story of David and Goliath. But you don't remember a single story that your pastor told you from the pulpit 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because God's word is intended to reach our souls. And so
Sure.
when we begin to unpack the Bible and tell the meaning behind the text and the excitement of the meaning of the stories, with history, with archaeology, with locations, all these things together, all of a sudden, the Bible becomes such an incredible guide to our lives that it becomes exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's hard not to believe when
It,
those things
it
are coming to life. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And scientifically, you can't reject it. There's no apologetic that you can argue against this that works.
Sure, sure. Okay, so getting back to Israel and your focus in your life on Israel, you're spending time in a place that you feel like is going to be very important in the coming days. Can you tell us like
Absolutely.
what's coming in the future with Israel?
It's really interesting that Israel has become the focus of the world,
Okay.
but Israel has always been the focus of the world. If you look at the impact of Israel in Egypt, when Moses left Egypt, he left Egypt in a really bad place. Babylon fell, Persia fell, Greeks fell. All the civilizations that have gone before have fallen. Israel still stands.
Yeah.
We have 22 Islamic nations that surround Israel. 22. Israel has 1/800th of the land mass of the Mideast, but all the Muslims are trying to destroy Israel. Now, Palestinians are different. People do not understand Palestinians. When the UN decided who the Palestinians were initially, it included Israel, Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan, and even parts of Iran and Iraq. That was considered Palestinians.
Sure.
Okay. And so people do not understand who the Palestinians are. And understand, I've been in Gaza, I've been in Lebanon, I've been in these places, I've watched what's been going on there. I've watched hate being taught by political groups to Palestinians to get them to hate. The second part of the Hamas charter, the second sentence says, we exist for the purpose of destroying every Jew on earth. It's not about land, never has been. The second line of the Hezbollah charter says the same thing. Now, I've been in Gaza. I've been in a third grade classroom in Gaza. The children there are taught math. If I have 10 Jews and I kill 6, how many Jews do I have left?
Oh, wow.
Okay. This is the type of teaching that they do. And so there's a hate teaching being brought to these children, who are mostly innocent children being victimized by the hate of a political group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to understand the value. Now, the value of Israel going forward is this. Gaza has never built infrastructure. The roads, the water, the refuse plants, and all of these things have been built by Israel and provided to Gaza and Samaria, which people call the West Bank, free gratis from Israel. They've not paid for these things. Okay, so Israel takes care of these. Without Israel, we would have problems with Israel is one of the leading countries, leading people in the world in technology. You wouldn't be talking on a cell phone without the chips that they invented in Israel.
Wow.
In agriculture, they've invented drip systems and ways to grow agriculture. In medicine, all kinds of medicinal and medical things they have created and advanced. In communications, in science, in so many things. Here's what I say to my people, and that is, if you take the spiritual value out of Israel for a moment, set it off the side, and ask the question, what value is Israel to the world? It's astonishing the ways that Israel is a value and meaning to Israel, to the world. Now, if you put the spiritual value back in and ask why, the answer is because God said to Abraham, bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. I will walk with you all your days, and I will bless the generations. And so this is a blessing God's promised, and there's no way around it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the future of Israel is, by the way, it's the only piece of land where God said, this is my land. By the way, I put my deed of property on that.
Sure.
I'm going to live there. It's where my throne is going to be for all time, for eternity. So that, to me, is a pretty solid argument for supporting Israel.
Yeah. Okay. As a believer here in Alabama, what do you think our responsibility is to Israel? What role should we play as far as how we respond to this new understanding that you're giving us?
I think to begin with, for the most part, people are either uneducated or they're not confident enough that they can speak to these issues.
Sure.
There are many things that we can learn from and many resources. We have a lot of resources to learn about things that are going on. The issue that we're facing today, the growing issue, is anti-Semitism. And so the church must equip the people to understand we do not have to run out and do a march in the streets, but we must be able to dialogue and answer anyone who either does not know or is anti-Semitic. Okay, God gave the Jews and promised the Jews, you'll be my people for all generations. We're still in all generations. So understanding what we must do, and there's a gentleman, Elie Wiesel, who was a Holocaust survivor, and he wrote a book called Night. And when he stood and received the award for writing this book, he said, I remember as though it was a day of darkness, it was a night of darkness. And I asked my father, this is the 20th century, how can these things happen, such as the Holocaust? And he said, now on this side of it, I realize that people remain silent. And I realize that if I remain silent, I am culpable for the people who are victimized. So we must not remain silent. We don't have to go out and bang the drum and be loud, but we must, in our own sphere of influence, we must be able to speak the truth and be equipped to speak that truth. And when we begin to do that, the church is a voice in the communities, then the communities will be influenced.
Wow.
And the world will be changed.
Okay, absolutely. So let's get back to Huntsville. Let's leave that side of the planet and come back to this side of the planet. You believe that God has set Huntsville apart. You called it a catalyst. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, I have some wonderful friends in Israel. I just got back last week with them, and they understand something. Israel is aware of Huntsville, Alabama, because of the military and because the communication that we do out of the arsenal here in Huntsville goes every nation, communication with every nation on earth. All the nations that have any military at all have liaisons here in Huntsville.
Sure.
So a wonderful man here in Huntsville is a liaison from Israel to the arsenal here, and he represents Israel, and he has a great following, and Israel has a great voice to the nations, okay, from Huntsville, Alabama.
Wow.
There's only one other place on earth, honestly, one other place on earth where I see that type of dynamic, and it's the UN building in New York. Okay.
Wow.
A voice to speak to the nations.
Yeah.
But from here, it's done in a way that is relational. It's not confrontational. Okay. It's in a relationship where all the people are trying to do the best and really work for their nations and secure their nations and work for their nations.
Sure.
It's a very interesting, very unique concept in this place.
It is.
Okay. So because of that, it makes this, and not only that, but you know that Huntsville is a growing city. Okay,
Yes.
in many ways, we have Hudson Alpha here in the city. This biotech, this incredible opportunity to understand some things. There's AI coming out of Huntsville in a new development out of the industry. So there's many things in this city that are catalysts for the world that are not necessarily well known yet. But there's an underpinning of the importance of this city, how this city can be a catalyst and a voice to the world in so many different areas.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible. I don't think I've ever heard anybody explain it that way. Because I know that we have a lot of research and development here, and there are a lot of very smart people here. I work with those people. I sell them houses, and I love those people because they buy houses. But there is a lot under the scenes that we don't even realize is happening. And Israel seems to continue to play a role in all of that. And when you're calling Huntsville a catalyst to the nations, and it's wild how all of these things are connected. So getting back to Israel, because I'm hopping around here, but say I want to go to Israel with you, but I'm not up for that plane ride. I've got bad knees. I don't want to walk around cobblestone streets. I don't know what it's like. You have created a way for someone like me to stay here in Huntsville and experience Israel in a way like it's never been done before. Tell us about the Israel 360 experience, what you've created here in Huntsville.
Sure. About 3 years ago, I stood just outside the village of Nazareth in Israel, looking down over what is the Jezreel Valley, which is also where Armageddon will be fought. And I just imagine that Jesus would have walked over there and thrown rocks over the cliff all the time, just as a young man hung out with his boys, his friends. But as I began to look around, I saw that to the left over here is the village of Cana, and then Nain, and then Tabor, and then Gilboa, and the Jordan Valley, and Capernaum, and Jezreel, and Megiddo, and Carmel, and all of these places that surround this place. And I was always told that Jesus grew up in an obscure place. But I come to stand there and realize that there's 32 Bible stories right here.
Wow.
And the first Bible story that would have been told here was the first road that was built from Egypt to Asia and Europe, called the Via Maris, the Way of the Sea. And the last battle of Armageddon would be fought in this valley. Jesus grew up in a place where he sat. He could see the history of the kings and the prophets and the judges and the first roads of mankind to carry the message, commerce back and forth to the world, and the very last battle on earth. Jesus grew up, and there's 32 stories here. I thought, we need to build a place where we can build a 360 environment where people can come. We can take them to places in Israel and teach the Bible in a way they've never, ever seen or understood or heard before. And so we've done that. We've created a place called the Israel Experience 360 here in Huntsville. And it's a room we bring people in. I can take you on a tour of Israel, sitting in a seat where you can swivel on. So even if you have bad knees, you can turn around and watch
Bad
it.
knees,
Okay?
you're just fine.
Okay.
I've actually done this personally, and
It's Israel for bad knees. How's that?
I'll tell you, it was life-changing for me because my dream would be to go to Israel. That would be my dream. I've told you that before. And just the fact that you were able to take me there in such a unique way, take me to each Bible story that you hit on, and the room you're sitting in, when he says 360, there is stuff happening all around you. It's interactive. You got different, like the place that you're talking about where Jesus would stand on this mountain. You've got that in there, and it surrounds you in the room, and you are teaching us as you're pointing out these different things that Jesus would have saw from where he grew up, which is incredible. I never even heard it that way. But when I open the Bible now, it's different for me because of going through the 360 experience. And this is something, by the way, that you can do. It's actually on the southern end of Huntsville, and you have it set up for the public to be able to at certain times come in and sit through this with you. And it's incredible.
Right.
It's something that you need to do. If you can't go do the real thing, or if you can, you still need to do this. This is incredible. This is stuff that you probably wouldn't get to see in one trip to Israel too. So if they want to go, and if the folks listening want to find this and want to come be a part of it, how do they find you?
On our website, imagineministries360.com.
Okay.
You can sign up for the Israel Experience, and we have different productions there that we put on. Actually, this week and next week, we're doing one called From the Hands of the Carpenter. It is taking you to the carpenter shop in Nazareth and tell you the story of Jesus as a carpenter, what he would have built, how he would have built it, the tools he would have used, the woods he would have used, and how incredible it was to his ministry. Jesus spent 18 years in a carpenter shop and 3 years in ministry.
Wow.
Okay. But you can sign up on our website, Israel360.com. Sorry, Imagine Ministries 360.com.
Okay.
And also, if you want to sign up for one of our tours of Israel and actually go with us, you can do that there. You can contact us and get any other information.
And I'll tell you, the tours, one of my favorite things has been the pricing. I was amazed by your pricing. It just doesn't seem post-COVID that you could price things that way. It's cheaper than a vacation to the beach. Pretty incredible. It's definitely worth checking out. But no matter what, you need to get to the 360 experience. Imagine Ministries 360.com. You need to check that out and sit under this man's teaching. I'm telling you, it is life-changing. And whenever he had mentioned just trying to remember a sermon you heard 3 years ago from a pastor, I remember what I was taught when I went to the 360 experience. I actually did it twice, at least twice. And I'm going to do it again. I absolutely love it. And I love the fact that you can go somewhere in our city and experience something like that. So it's definitely worth checking out. Doctor, do you have anything else that you want to share? Is there anything else that you need to plug? Anything else coming up that we need to know about?
The goal of our ministry is to equip Christians and pastors to understand the Bible like never before and get excited about the Bible, the Word of God, and find a way to communicate with God through their prayer life in a way they never have before. We come alongside churches and Christians. We're not replacing those. We're not conflicting with those. We're trying to be a tool to be used by them to help and encourage and equip them. If you have any questions at all, we also have a lot of artifacts, and some of them on occasion we loan out for a pastor to use as an illustration for his message. Okay, but we're always willing to help equip. So if you have any questions at all, please contact us. Please call us.
Oh, yeah. If you get in good with the Dieckilman family, you are, because I've had this front row seat, you're able to actually go check out that museum he's talking about. And it is incredible. There are so many neat things that you'd never even believe would live in Huntsville. Right here. He has it here in Huntsville with us, and which is incredible stuff from Israel that will blow your mind. Okay. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I want you to go and follow what Dr. Kevin is up to. I think that he has his finger on the pulse of things that are happening in the Middle East. He's somebody that you want to follow. If you believe and you have read the Bible and you know what some of the stuff that might be coming next, he's the guy you need to follow to keep up with that. So definitely go to imagineministries360.com. You can follow a lot of his stuff through Facebook as well. I do that. I've liked that page so that I can keep up with the events that are happening there, but they have all sorts of stuff happening all the time. Thank you again for checking us out and for listening to what Dr. Kevin had to say. Amazing man right here in Huntsville. Blows my mind. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Big Huntsville Podcast. If you've enjoyed the stories, the laughs, and maybe learned a little something new about our amazing city, remember, Huntsville isn't just a place, it's a community. And we've got some of the best folks around. So if you like today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend. And if you got a local hero or story you think we should highlight, hit me up. I'd love to hear about it. Until next time, I'm Carl Thomas, keeping it fun, keeping it real, and always keeping it big here in Huntsville. Catch you later.